time for Straight Talk Live with renowned radio pioneer Edna Howell-Parrish, the television show and podcast dedicated to presenting thought-provoking issues and opinions with the goal of challenging listeners to re-examine their assumptions and expand their opinions and give thought to new ideas and concepts to better their lives and the lives of others. This is your opportunity to participate in making the world better. So without further ado, let's get ready for Straight Talk Live with your host Edna Howell-Parrish.
Oh, hello, and welcome everybody to the show. I'm Edna Howell-Parrish. A pleasure to have you here today. We're going to have a topic that we're going to deviate from our political format for the season just for today. And we want to bring you what I call power, prestige, protection, wealth, and bisexual perversions. I'm Edna Howell-Parrish, and our guest here today to talk about those sexual perversions, freak-offs, the Diddy issue. We're here to talk about it. Radio friends are chopping the Diddy debacle. Puffy Combs is the name, and our friends today are going to give you what you came to hear. I'd like to welcome them. And when I say my friends, because it's issues and opinions with Edna and friends, my friends are, you won't believe this, people that I have worked with from years and years ago in radio. Now, first is my friend, the lady with the voice that melts diamonds. She is the boisterous Faith Daniels, and she commands afternoon drive on Dayton's R&B leader, 92.1 WROU. Now, she is a content director, community affairs director, music director. She directs everything that goes on, even the trash man.
That's
annually, her voice is dynamic, and it reigns over the Cincinnati Music Festival, the Gospel Superfest, the Sky Soul Fest, boisterous herself, TV and radio. She commands it all. Faith Daniels. Welcome to the show, Faith.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
I don't know what else you command, but I'm glad you're here.
It's crazy. It is crazy. One of the things that I love about this whole thing that we're about to talk about, I never would have thought I would have heard Edna Howell say freak off. Never in my life would that have ever believed that would have come out of your mouth. But hey, it's news. It's definitely news.
That's right. That's why I'm in the news, and I have said worse things, but
that's a professional, because you didn't even smile. You didn't anything. You was like, hey,
it is what it is. My next friend is Butch the Goat Gibson. When they call you the goat, you're original. You're way back. The Queen City, Cincinnati's infamous one. Now, he is a certified computer technician. He is a radio announcer, award-winning mobile DJ, and entertainment specialist. And on Facebook, they say he's an A+ certified tech award-winning radio mobile DJ. He has interviewed everyone from Aretha Franklin to Public Enemy, and he holds the Guinness World Book record of the largest wobble dance. Off. That's amazing. The largest wobble dance off. Guinness World Book record. I didn't know they had that. And I understand you had like some 2,241 participants.
That's correct.
Wobble dance
they
off.
blocked off the whole street behind Washington Park from one street to the other, and roped it off and counted all the people that came in, and we started doing the wobble.
All right now. So that's downtown, where across from Music Hall.
That is correct. Downtown Cincinnati. That is right. Yeah. Downtown Cincinnati, and in downtown Cincinnati, it's kind of a grid where all the streets are kind of the streets are. It's a grid of blocks, and between one, I guess, southbound one-way street and a northbound one-way street, there was a block, and in that block, they blocked off the block, and we had that whole block party doing a wobble down there. So
that's an original. Has anyone challenged you on that yet?
Not that I know of. And even if they did, when you said that, I was kind of looking over here to my left, because I thought I actually had the fun fact. If you do indeed get a Guinness Book World Record, not only does it, they document it, but if you give them $20, they will send you an actual certificate and a plaque. So I had it somewhere. I was looking over here for it. I don't know where it has gone missing in the hoard here, but
Okay.
I was going to
Okay.
hold it up,
Okay.
but I got it. It's there somewhere. Just saying.
You have to remember when you come on the show, you got to bring your props with you. Butch has been an announcer on the Whiz radio station in Cincinnati, public radio also in Cincinnati as well. Faith bought her props today. Faith, you got some props. I see. You told me about those props.
Man.
Well, the one that I'm probably the most proud of is my Marconi Award nomination for 2016. And
awesome.
Yeah, two seconds. Hold on. It's right here.
Okay, so these are radio people. They don't mind getting up in the show and going back to get their little props and things that they need to show. So radio is not like TV where you have to have everything ready and instantly.
Don't challenge me.
It's Butch. Uh-oh, Guinness Book. Look at it. He's got the certificate.
See that or not?
Faith right up there with Tony.
Right here.
So I need to pull out my
what you got,
Hall
Edna?
of Fame award. I got
what you got, Pioneer. Show us what you're working with.
I can't. It's back there on the shelf though. I can't pull it out.
Yeah, but you have to also say about all the golden microphones you have. Well, and true, a Marconi nomination is one of those things that you hear about it, you never even think of what you do and what the work that you do, that people that don't even know you understand the commitment and the time it takes away from your family to be able to even be seen by all these people. It was a long time coming. And when it came, it was one of those moments where you just like, and y'all still ain't gonna pay me right. That's where it comes back to.
Well, you're not gonna get paid, so
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Get paid in likes. Get paid in likes on social media.
Exactly. Well, the thing about it is all these years that you've been in radio, I've been in radio, Butch, we've been there. We've seen and heard so much from many of the artists. Today, we're here to chop the Diddy, the whole issue of P. Diddy. What do you call him, Faith? Puffy?
Sean. Call him what his mama call him, Sean.
Sean. Okay. What you call him, Butch?
Sean.
I guess I follow the flow in the same way, like an old Negro spiritual. First we were Afro-Americans or, Negroes, Afro-Americans, I don't know. Whatever the new term is, color folks, he's P. Diddy or whatever. But, I know him as Puffy, you know what I mean? Puff Daddy. But
Puff.
Now with this new news that has come to light, I kind of reflected upon that original Puff Daddy name. I'm like, what is that really? Is there something there that I don't want to know about? I don't know. Puff.
Indeed. We'll get on with the show and we'll start chopping down today. For nearly 3 decades, Sean Diddy Combs ran a criminal enterprise, according to prosecutors, that they say aided him in abusing young women and men. I added the men in it because that wasn't in the original indictment, but I added the men because I've heard and I believe that's true. He ran that enterprise and aided him in abusing people through sexual crimes, physical violence, and emotional manipulation. Federal prosecutors presented that 3-count indictment that was recently unsealed, and he's been accused of rape and everything under the sun in that lawsuit. Now, the chopping of Diddy this afternoon, we're going to be nice and we're going to be kind about it. But Faith, when did you first hear about Puffy Combs, his music? You've been in music for years, playing radio, DJ, music director.
It's been a number of years. It's been a number of years. I would say it was actually when he started working at Uptown. He was like the right-hand guy to Andre Harrell. And we would get, it just reverberated kind of through the industry, through the magazines, because we didn't have internet back then. That's how long ago it was, where we communicated like that. We got the radio and records magazines that came directly to the station. And we got a number of communications that these people were the up and comers, and they were bringing this brand new form of rap, the hip hop, the hip hop, as the old people say, that their hip hop was coming along. And he was a catalyst for being able to give us people. I remember when Mary J. Blige was a background singer for an artist named Father MC, and Mary J. Blige came out of the shadows with Puffy, Faith Evans, all of them. But in hearing about him, we heard the term that was really, really associated with him as a musical genius. But he's not that good of a musician. I just heard a lot of remixes of things. I heard a lot of rapping over stuff we already knew, but that was the new thing. And he then married rapping and R&B artists and putting that together, which had not been done well before him. So he came along at a time where the industry was wide open, literally, and it was waiting for something that was just new. It was just different. And he did. He birthed a culture and a cult-like following. And when he did that, everybody wanted to work with him because of what they saw him doing in the careers of people. But what they didn't see was the puppet master behind him, originally a Clive Davis, an Andre Harrell, who were giving him the things that he needed to do exactly what he was doing, and they were getting paid as well.
Well, but you've been in radio. You did a great show overnight. Your bread and butter was the hip hop culture. And every time somebody came to town, you were out there on it. And then whenever anybody was playing music, you were the one on it too. So what did you think about the new Diddy at that time, back in the day?
I think that it followed suit with a lot of things that were happening at that time. And I don't know if I could put it together in the same way that Faith just did, that I didn't necessarily see him as a separate entity. Like in some respect, it's a musical gumbo that when I'm out there in the literally in the party, it's just whatever the next song is, whatever the next hot song is, and it could be P Diddy or it could be Luke or whatever happened to be hot at that time. So I didn't necessarily separate him from all of the rest of the hits that were being played. But what I did see is that whole Bad Boy family seemed to make a big impact on the music that was being played, the library of music that was being played at that time. It seemed to be filled quite a bit with Bad Boy Records material. That's kind of how I saw it.
But
Absolutely.
Did you like the music, or was it just there, you played it and that was it? Or did it turn you on?
Not so much. I mean, I kind of enjoy, the artistry and the talent of Mary J. Blige or Faith. I didn't so much, and it's not necessarily I don't mean this necessarily disparagingly, but like Mace, the rapper Mace, I
Right.
did not
Yes.
necessarily enjoy his delivery, and that was his style. His style was somewhat monotone, but I didn't enjoy that. And if I remember right, I think it was former coworker Mark Gunn that might have said something like "use your voice like an instrument," and
He
I did
did.
not
He
I did
did.
not feel that Mace, who seemed to be kind of the headliner in that bad boy camp at one time. Mace was coming out with a lot of stuff, and he
Mhm.
just didn't seem to, in my opinion, his instrument only had one note, and
Mm.
I just did not enjoy that. I'm listening to Chuck D from Public Enemy, who is up and down and all over the place, or Flavor Flav for that matter, inside of Public Enemy, and their vocals were just up and down and kind of all over the place, but they told a story in their delivery, and Mace's delivery was just very monotone to me. But again, the whole
Mm.
Bad Boy family, that whole my record crates were full of that product.
Mhm.
So I had a lot to choose from at that time.
So Faith, being a music director, and I know that you can't play what you want to play. You play what's dictated, by the music log and what Tell me who dictates what music gets played, and how did that affect Puffy's music get all the airplay?
At the time when the Bad Boy Family was prominent, I mean, extremely, extremely prominent, we did have at times the ability to feature what we enjoyed or what the phones were blowing up for. We had an opportunity to feature that music. We also listened to what the people on the phone say. So when we sit down to do music calls every week, then we're talking about what my listeners want. And if I don't give it to them, somebody else is going to give it to them. And you see that even now, it's still a conversation, little less on the dictatorship, but it's still a conversation about what that market calls for. So primarily, you will not hear traditionally the same music you hear in a Shreveport, Louisiana market that you would hear in Dayton, Ohio. Because if I put Zydeco on the radio here, my listeners would call, they'd show up like, what is this? This is not a cultural thing for us. So we go region by region, and what makes sense in my region makes sense in my region. So when the Bad Boy Family was prominent, they were prominent nationwide. It didn't matter where you were. It didn't matter what city or town. You had heard about them. You heard music. And that speaks to the power of the money that could get you into any radio station, any record, any radio company, and let you reign supreme. It could happen. And it did. And it did in a lot of instances.
So was it the pay to play thing going on still? It wasn't supposed to be, but was it, Butch?
Well, industry wide, we looked the other way and have for years, and people were, prosecuted for it. And those of us that walk the line that we believe is right, we still see people that are just wildly rich. And how do you explain it? You don't. You do your job and you go home. That's what you do.
Yeah. So how pay for play? Like, I personally have never been approached in that way. I never received any money to play anything. Although I'm close to people that apparently are getting paid, and that seems to be the new thing now, that they're like here lately, and the 20 after the pandemic, or even prior to the pandemic, in the last 5 or 10 years, I've talked to people and they have certain packages that they will sell, and I'm just like, isn't that payola? Like,
it is.
Like, but they're just open with it, and so there are people out there in the clubs now that at least in the last time that I talked to someone, which might have been a couple of years ago, but have some kind of package deal. You pay $50 for this, or $100 for this, or $500 for this whole thing, and I'm just blown away. Like, I mean, I guess make your money, but that was not my understanding of the industry. And
that's the pipeline it has created. That pipeline has been created because some of the music where it used to come to radio and we play it and you like it, we used to do it like a pump it or dump it, or is this something let us know. That's the honest way of sampling that artist's music in your region for your audience. What I have known to happen in the last 10 years is that promoters don't do that anymore. They go to the club DJs and club DJs bang it. I mean, they hit them over the head with it 70 times a night, whatever you can get on, without people telling you, why are you playing that again? But they are paying for that in-club promotion so that when I sit down in my seat to do my job, what are my phones going to tell me? Oh, we heard. It's because you've heard it so much, you think you like it, and now you hear it in the club. Now you want to hear it on the radio, and you call and you email, and then okay, well, if that's what the listener wants, then that's what we should give them. But they have met payola where they cannot get it from us. They're doing it in the clubs so that it comes to us through the natural pipeline of the audience requests.
Maybe a contest, a giveaway, maybe some baby oil and some Ciroc, and
a whole package,
little package deal for you. So how will the industry survive without P. Diddy's, what they say, creative touch? He's locked up, hasn't had a trial, but they say if convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison, up to 50 years in prison. So how will the industry do without Diddy's creative touch? Or was he that influential with creativity in his Bad Boy Entertainment and Combs Enterprises? Or was it just something that was a myth that he brought people along and somebody else was out there doing the work?
Well, I think he has empowered a number of producers, But I'll answer your first question first. Will the industry survive? Absolutely. Absolutely. We haven't had a new R. Kelly hit in I don't know how long. And if you go in the club, you're going to still hear them play R. Kelly. We have personally, along with some input from other resources, have muted R. Kelly, but there are a lot of places that have not. They are playing that like he is a free man. Will there be somebody else that comes along and breaks out a new family and do some even more entertaining music without all the stigma that's just draping him right now? Yeah, because as long as there's money in the music industry, there will be somebody that they will pay the world to love and be popular.
Is that part of what you do, Butch? You play that music, in your entertainment as a mobile DJ, or is it a different style?
I play whatever is requested, although when and if it is my choice, then I tend to shy away from controversial kind of stuff. Like, I'm not out there banging R. Kelly hits, but to circle back, I think that maybe it's too early to tell about his influence, but I also think that maybe we're overestimating it in some ways, because there's a scandal. There's a scandal involved here, but I think back on even somebody like, how about Amy Winehouse? The young artist that overdosed or whatever. Didn't she overdose? Either way, she passed away. But she was an incredible up and coming artist, and now she's gone. So her legacy still exists. But even if bigger, not to put artists on any kind of a scale, but Prince, he's gone, but that whole vault still exists. His legacy still exists. Michael Jackson, he's gone, but his legacy still exists. So I look at this R. Kelly situation. Who we talking about? P. Diddy situation.
Right.
Puffy, P. Diddy,
right. But I look at that situation like, if he just, drove off a cliff or something like that, it would still, it could still have potentially the same impact, that he'd be gone. And what do you do with his legacy? And like I said, I tend to shy away from controversial kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to be out there playing Home Alone by R. Kelly, if R. Kelly is a convicted child molester, and have somebody approach me like, why are you playing this music? And I'm like, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but no matter what the background of the person, if there's still some entertainment value in what was made. I understand the moral compass that makes folks say, well, let's deviate from that because of these things. But if you bobbed your head to it before, like, I kind of think you could bob your head to it, now.
Right.
But that's a whole, that everybody has their own personal choice, and I'm not going to die on that hill necessarily to say I'm going to continue to play P. Diddy music. I'm not going to stop, can't stop, won't stop. I'm not doing that.
And a lot of people grew up on that music. I mean, it was a part of a lot of people's careers. A lot of people's middle school, high school age people are grown now, and that was their Michael Jackson. That was their Jackson 5. That was what that is. So however this turns out for him, I say that handwriting was on the wall a long time ago. And I personally feel, and my opinion only, that if individuals knew that are now so willing to sit down and have these conversations that they are being paid for, and you were there, and you left work because they may have been employed by him, because those are the people that are really talking. If you were employed by this man and you went home from work one day and you didn't call the police, you didn't call social services, you didn't call anybody, you cashed your check and you went back to work the next day. Picking bodies up off the floor, hydrating people, helping them to get back to normal, meaning they had been in an altered state, then you need to sit down right next to him. If you knew these things were going on, it's unbelievable, but it's the industry that we work within, and it's what's accepted in the world today. Is now I can tell because I'm afraid of him, and now he's locked up, so I can tell. You could have just went home and never went back.
It's interesting thought there. Let's talk about Diddy's children. He's got 7 kids in all. And, 3 or 4 sons I know that are involved in music. Do you think that somehow they will come along? Will they become the great producers? Will they inherit, or did they inherit Diddy's talent? So-called talent.
What they inherited is this mainstream bloodbath. That's what they have inherited. I don't know what they do, honestly. The King Combs, which is his son, who looks really, really a whole lot like him. He released a project. Nobody's touching that project. Nobody's touching it. So how many years will it be before we will touch something that I don't even know? I have no clue what he had done before that. The only way I know he released this is because it was amid the scandal. And people were like, too soon. It was literally right after the raids, they released that. And I just don't see it. I don't know that within good conscience, can we just sit down and just listen to them as individuals and be interested in what they are producing? Because in the back of my mind, I will forever see. So what was going on in the studio when you made that? So who was over there? It's too big. It is too big. I think they will probably try and have to live lives, hopefully, and this is my hope for the children, if he can take a deal, stay out of court, take a deal, and go on and sit down and see what the evidence is against you. But the feds don't usually do all this unless they got you. They got you. So in the children's interest, they got a lot of living to do. The youngest is 17. The youngest is that little baby.
They got that little baby. Yeah.
So
exactly.
In the interest of your children.
I don't want to necessarily endorse any other product or movie, but I watched something on Tubi, and it was like the downfall of Diddy, and it put together by TMZ. So it was pretty thorough, and I don't know if I'd say objective, but one of the things that stuck out for me was they talked to Suge Knight, and Suge Knight and Puffy been at odds, and
for years.
Spoiler alert, Suge Knight said some nice things. He said, I'm not going to celebrate that man's downfall, but if anything, I think that it is bad for hip hop, bad for the industry, and that he feels for that man's children. And I feel the same way, like that it's unfortunate that all of this came out. We had Epstein and Weinberg that were doing whatever they were doing, but now you got something that hits a little closer to home that makes is everything tainted. It makes me like raise an eyebrow, like, oh man, this is all bad.
What is actually authentic art and music that's really good that we're allowed to hear? Because there are a number of artists that are incredible, but the money, and I'm speaking to your quest for authenticity, the money will push a mediocre artist straight to the top when a amazing artist, natural vocals, natural inflection and passion, and every sense of what you really need in your life, you don't get to hear that artist because that artist is not scantily clad. They maybe don't look like what the industry wants them to look like. They're 400 pounds. How about that? Or they have bald patches. There are some things, they have alopecia. They got things going on that the industry wouldn't accept. So rather than take that gift and do what that gift is supposed to do, they'll put money on something that is aesthetically pleasing and get in the studio and make you pleasing to the ear with the controls of the board. And then you can always tell, because when an artist shows up in person and does live singing, we know where the money was spent. It was spent in the studio.
In that bad boy corral of artists, who do you think the best artists were or are? Biggie, Faith?
I would have to say Faith, because Mary J. Blige, although she has garnered an amazing following, just a queen at what she does.
Yes.
She sings very passionately, makes her best music when she is going through an emotional turmoil or upheaval. But Faith Evans is a flat-footed singer. Mary J. Blige is not. So when you hear her live, are you really hearing her live? You just never know. So with that being said, I'd have to stick with Faith. There's not been another one or anybody else that even comes to mind, even with the little groups he was putting together off to the side, the little offshoots. None of those people ring a bell for me. None of them.
Total was under the Bad Boy umbrella, right? Total, and
we had them at a Wiz anniversary party.
Right, that's what I was thinking about. And then there was
Sure
another.
did.
It's just, and there was this the young boy band.
Day 26.
Nah, I forgot the name of that group, but
see, you didn't even know. You was like, nah, not them either. Yeah, Day 26 is a group that he put together, and
Bump. Who made that? Who made Bump?
Is that back B2K? No, that was Chris Stokes.
B2K, yeah, it was B2K.
That was Chris Stokes.
Biggie.
Oh, well, I just looked it up. It's Bump B2K with featuring P. Diddy.
Yeah,
that was just a little flash in the pan.
What happened to Biggie, y'all? What happened to Biggie?
He was murdered. He was murdered. There are so many speculations about what happened, but what I see from the outside, and I say outside because I have no ties to the rap world or the record industry at all. What I will say, in my opinion, these were Tupac and Biggie. These were collateral damage. Both of them were. They were collateral damage in a feud or a fight that got out of hand. None of that was supposed to happen. I do not believe. Did somebody order a hit and then the favor was returned? It's been speculated for years. There are people coming out. There's a man been charged right now. We'll never know. We'll never know. And Sean Combs will never tell the truth about what he knows. He'll always say he didn't know anything about it, but that feud was way too hot for way too long, and it ended. And if you notice, if it was truly an East Coast, West Coast fight that was so bi-coastal and so intense, once they were both gone, where did the feud go?
I don't know. Was that a lesson learned? Was it a stopping point?
We don't learn that fast. We do not learn that fast as a culture. We do not. Gangs are still in operation right now because we have not learned the lesson. The method of getting rid of
people, unaliving them changed. You know, it was bang, bang,
the method did.
Kind of thing.
The method did.
Yes. In fact, you know, I don't know when the tide turned and Bad Boy Records and music and the Combs Enterprise return from that era to these freak offs and this party thing. That's when it seemed like all that just took over. When did that happen? I could fathom that it happened. Better freak offs and all this.
Yeah, because you got to follow the money. When the money got better, there's only so much money you're going to make off the back of an artist. There's only so many t-shirts you're going to sell, only so many copies of a CD back then. Now everything is digital downloads. There's only so much you're going to be able to get out of an artist. So then you saw Sean branching out into liquor sales.
Yes.
Liquor is a spirit. I could put an exclamation point right there. But when you branch off into liquor sales, clothing lines, and things that almost provide you perpetual income, just money. We've said this before, and I'll say it again. Money makes people crazy. it makes who you really are come out. It makes it come out. And then you put yourself in an entertainment industry where you wield money, power, and you have the ability to make or break a person's career or their family and everybody else. Yeah, you can pretty much get whatever you want. And if you have those demons, that those are the things that you like to do and those things you like to see, if you do that in the privacy of your own home with consenting other adults, that's fine. But when you then engage to practices that are alleged that you are having people to consume drugs, and he just gave an interview. He didn't just give it, but it just surfaced. He did an interview where he talked about these parties and how he made sure everybody had alcohol, made sure he turned the air conditioning off so that the heat would work with the alcohol in the people's bloodstream. In addition to that, you see him categorically admitting in interviews that these things have happened. But when we say, well, people was going over there, yeah, but what was their mental state? What was their financial situation, or things that were being, dangled in front of them in order for them to participate? You don't know what that is. You don't know.
You ever heard that there's something about how you can put a frog in a pot of water and turn the heat on real low, and slowly the frog will boil to death. Well, it'll die because it gets boiled slowly. Sometimes I think about these kinds of situations like this, that who knows what happened, from point A to point F for a freak off, that somewhere along the line, just a little more, a little more, a little more. It also reminds me of what we're accepting as a culture. Faith, you mentioned culture. And it just kind of reminds me, and it made me think of that song, My Baby Daddy by B-Rock and the Biz.
Yep.
Like, how did that song get on the radio? Who selected that? Why was that kind of song with that kind of content pumped into the community? And then, people would say, oh, it's a fun song. Like, then how is it downplayed like that? And it infiltrates into our community, like and we're getting musical hypothermia, where all of this content is being pumped into us, and it becomes the norm, and it's less stimulation of the mind and all about seemingly gyration of the hips.
That is correct.
And I remember back in the day, I don't know if you all remember when we had this campaign going against dirty lyrics on the radio. And when Uncle Luke came to town,
that is correct.
They stopped him. They would not let him play at music hall that they wanted to do the concert. And we had a big forum on that. We had a big forum on that. No dirty lyrics. And, I mean, it was a...
Oh, and the packaging had to be labeled. That was Al Gore's wife that took that all the way to the Hill. And, she stood firm. I remember seeing her and Uncle Luke on Phil Donahue, who was started right here in Dayton. But one of the things that I knew then, that parents cared then. Parents cared. And I will say this, and you can track my career. I've never worked for a hip hop station. Even when I was young, I never worked for a hip hop station. I worked as promotions director for The Wiz, but I was never an on-air personality for a hip hop station, specifically because when I came into the industry, Sugar Hill Gang was hot. They weren't rapping about that. When that leg of the rap race was being run, I couldn't assign myself to that. The calling on my life was far more important. I couldn't align my values with it. And people would say all the time, you would sound so good. Oh, you could just, but I have to sleep with myself after I have played and introduced songs that consistently berate Black women, consistently downgrade the structure of family, consistently break the norms that we were taught to believe as family values. I couldn't do it. So when we look at what music is now, I still won't work for a hip hop station. I went to a country station to keep from having to work for a hip hop station.
And
I couldn't rap it.
that's a little challenging for me in a sense of the actual definition, or what I think the origin of hip hop,
Yeah.
what it is or what it came from, the five elements, and how, watching something like, oh, what was that? There was a series they had on the Get Down that was on Netflix, and that little interpretation of the origin and the birth of hip hop and Kool Herc and all of that came together that make this thing that, like you said, that rappers delight. The Sugar Hill
Mm-hmm.
Gang, they weren't necessarily rapping about that, and the vehicle is one thing, but the content that's inside the vehicle seems to have
That's
changed over
correct.
time. And I
That's
don't want to
correct.
necessarily sound like you talked about old people, the hip hop. I don't want to sound like that, because I live and breathe hip hop to a certain extent. So I think some of it has gone a direction that I don't necessarily like to follow, but I still think of the Eric B's and Rakims and the
Yes.
and
MC
and the,
Light.
even the Grandmaster Flash, stuff like that.
Yes.
That was the foundation, the birth of it, the creativity that allowed that to escalate to what it is today. That it's foundational, it's wonderful. And I don't know if that means that the hip hop station of today is not wonderful, and if the music of today is not wonderful. But it is just it's gone down a path that I don't necessarily like, but I still like the fundamental reason and what hip hop means to me. Just saying.
Yes. And we need that to have a rebirth, if you will.
Mm, mm,
And I will say this, and then we can move on to your other questions. One of the things that I have studied about musical culture in general, not just hip hop culture or R&B or gospel, I'm versed. So what I have studied is that there is not another musical genre that pits young women in the light that we do. There
mm,
is not,
mm,
you
mm,
don't hear country music artists and they tell a beautiful story. But what you don't hear is country music artists touting teenage pregnancy, touting
mm.
promiscuity. Country music doesn't do that. Latino music doesn't do that. German music doesn't do that. There is not another opportunity for us to hear them treat their women like we do in our music.
I that we have to have a part two on this, because there's some things that we leaving out. But y'all want to come back for a part two at some point, we'll do that. But even
Sure.
back in 1999, when Sean Diddy Combs began, I think those white parties in the Hamptons, and was a place to go, thing to do, big parties, and they were having a good time, and everything was so cool. And Diddy kind of saw the future and what was going to happen with his parties, because they kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And they wanted him to stop. And here's what he had to say about that. He knew.
Your parties are the hottest ticket around.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my party. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time. Whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizon, people get intimidated. There's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It ain't nothing but break it down racial barriers, break it down generation barriers. People from all walks of life. Ron Perlman talking to Jay-Z, Jay-Z talking to, you know what I'm saying? It just goes on and on. It's just like people from all walks of life connecting and getting together. Yeah.
Your parties are the hottest ticket in town. People dying to get into your party. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's cool. It doesn't make me feel any way special. It doesn't make me feel like a bigger person. It just makes me feel like I know how to throw a party.
Makes him feel like he know how to throw a party. 25 years almost to the date. Here he is, indicted by the feds.
But see, you got to be careful what you say. Be careful. He said in that clip, they're going to be arresting me. Be careful what you put into the atmosphere.
That was 25 years ago. Can you imagine?
So your words have power. Your words live in your future. Your words live in your future.
He knew his freak offs. He knew they were going to just blow up. and blow people
Well,
up.
I give him the benefit of the doubt. He was the consummate promoter. Absolutely. And what is the ingredient to a great party? Put all the people that regular people want to party with in one place, and then you'll get the regular people busting the door down to get in there with that elite group. Being in that elite group is always a fun place, and you know the power that you wield. People do anything they want. People can do anything they want, but they'll do it 4 times for a famous person. They'll do it backwards and in high heels for a famous person, and all for the famous selfie. Get a selfie with this person, or I sat on the couch next to that person. And, you know, it speaks to the people that he had at those parties. Emotionally, probably damaged people, emotionally, allegedly, psychologically challenged, more than likely. More than likely.
Thoughts, Butch?
I mean, that's you know, without the context of what's happening today, you know, that interview by itself, you know, in some ways speaks volumes, you know, because yeah, that's a, like Faith said, that's a great promoter there. That I would want to be at that party, you know, if he's talking about it in that way. How can I get in? You know, but in the context of today, I'm cool. I'll stay out, but you know, that's it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And if your words speak into your future, I am going to be very, very wealthy and independently wealthy, and I'm gonna be just spending money like it's gonna be just. I'm gonna make it rain with $100 bills because I'm just gonna be rich. Just let me put that out there.
And that's exactly what that's about, you know, for people that are involved in that industry, I guess, you know. So the unwritten future of hip hop, rap, and soul, it's not going to die down. It will stay forever, you believe? Like people said,
Yeah.
well, after, you know, a certain time, back in the 30s and 40s, that you know, jazz would die down, and it never did. I mean, it may not be as popular. It didn't get the airplay anymore. Used to be stations that played a lot of jazz, but it never died down, never died out.
No. And if you look at any elementary school, middle school, or high school, 3 in 5 kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? NBA, NFL, and a rapper.
Exactly. And a police officer, believe it or not.
And you're in the school, so you know, you hear it.
I know that's it. Police officers, yes, exactly.
Same. But you know, you talk about the music dying down. I think it has become easier now than ever to put some content out there. It used to be like a MacBook and GarageBand, which, you know, once you got a MacBook, GarageBand is free. But now it's the cell phone. You know, I was talking to an older guy the other day. It was like, yeah, I made all my music on my cell phone. I'm like, oh, that's how you get down. So just an app in your phone. Or there was another guy. There was another guy that made a hit while he was in jail. That guy, I think he was in Africa, and he was talking about how they smuggled in a cell phone, and he would wrap himself in his mattress, in his jailhouse mattress, and do his vocals on an iPhone 5 or something like that, and email the vocals to somebody on the outside, and you know, it made a big hit. So you know, I think it's much easier to get the content out there.
So could this lead to the feds stepping in with more regulatory scrutiny on artists and the behavior that leads to some of this nasty boy, bad boy, nasty girl image that's being put out there with the music?
Well, I tell you what you're seeing right now.
I'm an oldie, so I'm gonna say that.
Well, I'll tell you what we're seeing right now. There's a RICO trial going on right now with Young Thug, and they are using his rap lyrics in that court case right now.
Yes, in Atlanta. Yes. Wow.
So if the feds step in and tell you what you can't put in your music and not let it get out, they're tying their own hands. So no, they're going to let you put whatever you want to out there, and then we're going to use it against you.
Freedom of speech, but not freedom of responsibility.
That is correct.
Just saying.
Interesting thoughts there. Well, so while Diddy is in jail, I thought about his children, you know, because I really feel for them, 7 of them in all. The twin daughters, they're 19 years old, Delilah and Jesse. Then there's Kimora Lee is looking after them, from what I understand, and Lala Anthony. They're longtime friends of Kim Porter. And then allegedly there was a book, a tell-all book that Kim Porter wrote before she died. Now, people say mysteriously she died of pneumonia, but then people said, well, that was kind of sudden. So now there's word that maybe she had some help from somebody helping to unalive her. Maybe P. Diddy.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But the
I've heard
book,
that, and a new book is out. Yeah, a new book is out that they are claiming is written by imposters. That actually the feds probably already have her diary in their custody as evidence. So in order for me to believe any of that, and I've seen the book, I've flipped through the pages of the book, I can't believe it because it is so riddled with grammatical errors, overuse of commas and semicolons. There wasn't a proofreader in the group. Not one of you scammers could have put that thing in AI, put it in Grammarly, anything.
Yes.
Nobody, before you rush to the presses with it. But they did. So what I see, that is a major red flag of inconsistency. I can't believe it unless, we see it in court documents. But people will say anything at this point to make $1 off of this debacle.
P. Diddy had Bad Boy, so maybe this book publisher is like Bad Boy, but bad grammar. But
bad grammar, bad books, bad books.
Well, we mentioned Al B. Sure earlier, and Al B. Sure at one time was married to Kim Porter, and they had a son together who Diddy, I guess, later on adopted this son.
He did.
Yeah, but Al B. Sure said he has put out a cease and desist letter to Amazon, who is publishing, had the book out, and it's the #1 bestseller for them. And he said that the book is fake. He says the book is fake. So let's see that.
I know people wanted me to talk about Kim Porter's book that's on Amazon, but according to Quincy and Al B. Sure, that book is fake. Before we get to what they had to say, I know a lot of people don't really know the history, so let's start from the very beginning. Al B. Sure was an R&B artist who gained popularity in the late 80s and was discovered by a man named Andre Harrell. Andre was the founder of Uptown Records and not only discovered Al B. Sure, but he also mentored him. During this time in Al B. Sure's career, he had an assistant, and that assistant went from a professional relationship to a romantic one. That person would be none other than Kim Porter, and by 1991, Kim Porter gave birth to their son named Quincy Brown. Now, around the time that Andre Harrell had discovered Al B. Sure, he also met a young college student in the late 1980s who went to Howard University, who we all know today as P. Diddy. At the time that Andre met Diddy, Diddy had a very big interest in music and fashion and ended up getting an internship at Andre's record label. Because of Diddy's work ethic and talent, Andre Harrell ended up promoting Diddy as a talent director. And that's when Diddy started working with artists like Mary J. Blige and Jodeci, helping developing their careers. Now, going back to Kim Porter and Al B. Sure, their relationship ended shortly after they had their son. Eventually, Kim Porter met Diddy at an industry party, and he was immediately drawn to her and actually had to pursue her for a while before they began their relationship. Because of Diddy's relationship with Kim Porter, Quincy Brown was raised not only by his mother, but also by Diddy, and considers Diddy a father figure. Like I said, this relationship was on again, off again for over a decade, and there were a lot of rumors about what happened in this relationship. And there was a rumor that Kim Porter was writing a tell-all book about Diddy, but didn't get to finish it before she died. All of a sudden, there's a book that appears on Amazon that's 59 pages and allegedly Kim's lost words, but a lot of people are saying it's not real. Chris Todd, who is a publisher and producer, said that he received a thumb drive from 2 music industry sources who also happened to be Kim Porter's friends, and this is what was in the thumb drive. While he can't guarantee that it is authentic, he does insist that he believes it to be true. Well, Quincy Brown posted a lengthy statement to Instagram from him as well as Kim Porter's other kids with Diddy, stating that not only is the book not real, but a lot of the rumors about Kim Porter's relationship to Diddy are also false. You can pause to read the statement, but he also does state that there was no foul play when it comes to his mother's death. Al B. Sure also took to Instagram and posted 3 separate posts and a very, very, very lengthy statement with a lot of accusations. Now, while he also is saying that the book is fake, he accuses Diddy of a lot, including allegedly medically silencing him. For those unfamiliar, I'll Be Sure was working on new music in 2022 and then fell into a coma that lasted a little over 2 months. A few months ago, he was speaking at the Equal Justice Now Awards in LA, and I tagged the video in my caption so you can hear exactly what happened to him during those 2.5 months. But during this speech, he talked about the fact that he was going to be releasing a documentary. And in this speech, after announcing the documentary, he says, "You'll really understand how I ended up in a coma. You're really going to need to call Homeland Security." In the end, the question remains, is this truly Kim Porter's memoir? Did she write any memoir? Or did somebody put this out there to smear the names of other people in this industry?
All right. Well, you're listening to Issues and Opinions with Edna Howell-Parrish, and friends. Faith Daniels, program director, on-air personality at Dayton's WROU. Butch Gibson, the GOAT from Cincinnati. I mean, he's the man about town. And I think that today's discussion has been very interesting. So appreciate you guys coming on. So as we close out, pardon me, as we close out the show today, last words about Diddy, his children, anything going on with the trial. It's going to be a long time before that trial gets started. Long time.
Yeah, and I hate that for the kids. It's important for us to remember at the end of all of this, they still have lives to live. They still have a lot of their life ahead of them. And it is, I cannot tell you the last time, or if at all, I've ever seen R. Kelly's children. I can't tell you. They have done a great job, their mom specifically, of keeping them out of the industry, away from the quote unquote circus. These children had no choice. They had no choice and were thrust into the spotlight with all of this. So my thoughts are with the children. My thoughts are definitely with anyone that is a victim. And most importantly, you're right. We don't know how long this is going to be in the media, how long we are going to have to be subjected to, so much evidence that apparently has been accumulated. So I said earlier, and I'll say it again, if he knows, and I understand business, I understand money, I understand this industry in particularly, and you don't ever want to just lay down and take a plea and just let them take everything from you, your legacy, your wealth. You don't want to do that. And your attorneys will keep you in court as long as you can afford them. As long as you can afford them, they will keep you in court. And once that is all played out, because they're going to play it out as many different avenues as they can find, they're going to do that. And I respect them for doing the job that they are being paid to do. But at the end of the day, you know what you know. And if he can in any way make it easier on his children, do the right thing by his children.
But thoughts?
I think that we'll get through this, and it reminds me of some of the things that we've seen in the past. Like we saw Johnny Depp on trial, or in court. We saw that happening. We saw Epstein, and Epstein was kind of like a flash in the pan, and that lady that it was his sidekick, Giselle, or whatever her name was. I mean, it was big when it was out. Yeah, it was big at that time, but then it kind of went away. But something else that didn't go away prior to that, Weinstein. That created the whole Me Too movement.
The Me Too movement.
The Me Too movement, and that exists, that changed our world. Prior to that, not to go on and on, back with Rodney King, that changed our world. What's the other? O.J. Simpson. So I think that there's going to be some things that may linger, but I think we'll survive. And I think maybe some lessons will be learned, and maybe the world will change a little bit. Maybe, hopefully for the better.
Well, my question, maybe it's the lingering question that we did not touch on because it just popped into my head. What's the difference in a Diddy party and a party at the Playboy Mansion all through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and until that man died, i.e. Hugh Hefner? What's the difference?
And I understand that Diddy's mansion there in California had tunnel going from his house to the Playboy Mansion. I mean, the mansion was there, Hugh Hefner's mansion, but the tunnel was always there, but then it's connected to Diddy's. So I heard that was a way of trafficking and do a little stuff underground too. I don't know. It's just alleged.
But what's the difference between these two gentlemen's plight here? Did they ever raid the Playboy Mansion? Ever?
Ask Bill Cosby.
Exactly.
I forgot about Bill.
I don't know.
Exactly.
A lot of people that we had a chance to talk to an interview about whole issues with the whole thing about Albie Shore saying he was been put on hold and his life was hanging in the balance. He almost died. Jamie Foxx. A lot of that stuff is alleged to have happened at the hands of the one and only P. Diddy. So the children, as you say, Christian, 26 years old, the twins, Jesse and Delilah, they're 19 now. That's Kim Porter's children. And then there's Justin with Missa Hilton. And then the daughter called Chance is 18 years old. And then Sarah Chapman and a 22-month-old daughter named Love, like you said, Dana Tran, the mom, I guess. And Diddy also adopted Albie Shore's son too, Quincy, who was 33. Good looking kids. Sorry to see that happen to them. So we just hope that they'll be able to visit their dad soon. They say it's going to take a while because everybody has to be investigated, background checks done. And then when they get to visit, it's a 1-hour visit and one person at a time. And then he's going to be in a cage.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously tampered with witnesses before. When the latest lawsuit was filed against him by one of his proteges, I'll call her.
Yes.
The young lady who was a corroborating witness received more than 140 phone calls for him in a space of 2 days.
That's what I understand.
That the aroma of witness tampering, just allegedly, but the aroma of witness tampering.
And that's why he did
intimidation.
They did not accept his issue for bail. All the money he put up, the houses and all that he wanted to do. No, you do not pass go. You do not leave. You will be in jail until it's time for you to, begin the trial. And that's going to be a while yet. So thank you, Faith Daniels, for coming and being with us today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Butch Gibson, excellent.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Do you feel like a goat?
I do not. I don't.
The greatest.
He is to me.
Hey, I appreciate it. But if I'm a goat, I'm talking to the pioneer, like you said, the pioneer right there. You,
the golden microphone holder. Absolutely,
Indeed.
the golden
Indeed.
microphone holder.
Well, we thank you all for joining us. We'll continue with our political forums beginning next week, but we're going to have the radio chopping back. Our friends Faith and Butch come back another time to continue this discussion. Thank you all for listening. I'm Edna Parrish. And like a famous man once said that truly great friends are hard to find, difficult to leave, and impossible to forget. I'll never forget y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in to Straight Talk Live with renowned radio pioneer Edna Howell-Parrish, the program dedicated to presenting thought-provoking issues and opinions with the goal of challenging listeners to re-examine their assumptions and expand their opinions and give thought to new ideas and concepts to better their lives and the lives of others. Join us next week for another opportunity to participate in making the world better. So until next week, live your best life from your friends at Straight Talk Live and host Edna Howell-Parrish.